Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel is not about SEC media days. He does not like getting in front of the camera. He does not like sitting on the panel. He just likes coaching ball. Luckily for him, fall camp's going to be here in a couple of weeks. The highlights of Tennessee and the SEC media days. That and more at your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it, your Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. I am Eric Kane, so happy that you guys have elected to take part in our show here today, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch, each and every single day. Shout out every dayers for making this show what it is. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. We got a fun show coming up today. We're going to hear from Josh Ward, who's got boots on the ground in Dallas at the SEC Media Days, taking part, we'll have him speak on what Tennessee did in the spotlight on Tuesday. That's coming up in segment number 3. And of course, we're going to hear a lot of comments from Josh Heupel, and you can just kind of see the disdain, if you will, the annoyance, if you will, of having to be there. I mean, he wasn't rude or anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that he was rude, but you can just see that this is not his favorite part of the job, but it does come with the territory being the head football coach of a Power 5, Power 4 conference now. Big shout out to FanDuel for making the show what it is. Check out FanDuel for making every moment more. Go to FanDuel.com, where all customers can get a bonus or a boost daily here in the summer months. That is coming up over at FanDuel.com here today. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into what our show is today. A lot of Josh Heupel conversation. It was Tennessee sending Josh Heupel to SEC Media Days. It was Tennessee sending Cooper Mays, Keenan, Pili, along with Omari Thomas. And you know, I've been a veteran of SEC Media Days. Obviously, I was not there this year, but I've been to Hoover, Alabama a couple times. I've been to Atlanta, Georgia, was in Nashville last year. First time in many years I haven't gone and taken part in it, but you come through there and you usher them around, and they go to the main stage. They go to the side stages. They go to Radio Row. They go to the TV rooms. They go to Marty McGee, the SEC Now, Paul Feinbaum. I mean, they do all this time. I mean, it really is a circus, if you will. And, you know, for a guy like Josh Heupel, who is not all about that, it can get kind of taxing, a little bit annoying. And again, he was not rude or anything, but you can just kind of tell in some of his answers and just his body language that, I mean, he's just not about this. He just wants to go coach ball, and I think you can respect a lot about that, especially if you're a Tennessee fan. But we knew that Tennessee was going to get over the head. You know, Josh Heupel was going to get hit over the head in terms of Oklahoma, Josh Heupel going home, all that type of stuff. It didn't take but the third question in. I think I put the over-under 3.5, and so I smashed the under there. It was the third question for Josh Heupel at the main podium before he was asked about Oklahoma, but first he was asked about Nico Iamaleava, and of course that was going to be the main topic of conversation for Tennessee, and you know why Nico was so highly recruited, what he's seen in Nico that believes he can get the job done. A lot of good stuff here from Josh Heupel on his quarterback and Nico Iamaleava. Give this a listen.
Was highly recruited because of his athletic traits. You know, he's got the ability to throw the football sideline to sideline, vertically down the football field, extremely accurate, loose, quick-triggered arm. He's got the ability to extend and make plays with his feet. That's as a runner, that's, you know, evading and making a play down the field. The thing that I've loved about Nico is, you know, when he came into the building, he wanted to earn the respect of his teammates, and you do that through your actions, not your words. Everybody understands how hard he works to become the best that he can at his craft. He takes great ownership in his skill set and developing it, understanding of our offense, and you know, as a young player, gets his first start in the bowl game. One of the best compliments you can give to a quarterback is when it goes from the practice field to the game field, it slows down for him. During the course of the bowl game, it slowed down for him. Thought he was in great command out there. Now, there's a lot of things that he learned from that game. He's had great urgency in his preparation all offseason. I'm really excited to see his growth and development as a young quarterback throughout the course of this 24-hour journey.
Yeah, and we're going to get to see that growth and development. Again, this has been, you know, several years in the making. This has been anticipation dating back to November of 2021 when Nico first came on his first unofficial visit here to Tennessee, and then courting him for, you know, much of 2022, and then going ahead and committing to the class in 2023 and being on campus here, or I guess that was 2022, and being on campus as an early enrollee in 2023, so on and so forth. Tennessee's been all about Nico for so long, and finally, and they're going to make sure that he's, well and healthy going into the season. We're going to get to see exactly kind of who he is on a week-to-week basis. And not only us, but really college football overall is going to get to see who Nico Iamaleava is. And I liked a lot of what he said in there. He tried to come in and earn the respect of his teammates. You got to do that through action and not words. He's going to make mistakes. He's not going to be perfect, but his ability to process information is, very much like Hendon Hooker. That's what a lot that I've heard about Nico, and of course Hendon Hooker was elite in this offense. So nonetheless, a lot of storylines, a lot of conversation, plenty of questions asked about Tennessee's quarterback Nico Iamaleava, who was not in Dallas this year. Of course, it was Cooper Mays, Keenan, Pili, and Omari Thomas. And actually, somebody did ask, why did you not bring Nico? And Josh Heupel's like, it's not why I didn't bring him, it's why I brought these guys. I mean, these guys are 5th and 6th year players, and they're team leaders and all that type of stuff. And we've had that conversation here on the show before. But a lot of talk about Nico, as you'd expect. Also, a lot of talk about Josh Heupel going home week 4. Norman, Oklahoma. Tennessee, Oklahoma. First SEC game. Some are calling it. I've been watching the SEC Network all day and trying to multitask that in the MLB draft. And we'll talk a lot of MLB draft on tomorrow's show. But some people around Norman are calling this the biggest regular season game in history for Oklahoma, this being the first game in SEC history. And so how did Josh Heupel handle the conversation? He was asked about it a couple of times. This is the first question, his response, I guess, when asked first about Oklahoma. Here's Josh Heupel speaking on his former program where he won a national championship as a Heisman runner-up quarterback back many years ago.
First time that I will have been back. It will be unique for myself to be on the other sideline. Obviously, there's been a lot of Saturdays where I was on the home sideline. But there's so many great teammates, friends that will be there. Got great respect for the university, the program. A lot of friends that are coaching on the opposing sideline that day. Former teammates that will be coaching on that opposing sideline too. So it'll be unique to be back there, but excited to be there.
Again, that was the first question about Oklahoma that was asked. It was question number 3 when Josh Heupel was at the main podium at SEC Media Day Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon, I guess. And we're going to continue to get that storyline. We know that we are. Josh Heupel's going to go there and coach football and try not to make it more than what it is, but he is going to be going home. And so that's a big storyline for, of course, Oklahoma media, Norman media, a little bit of us, here in Knoxville market, but really, college football media in general. So be interesting to see as we get closer and closer to that date. It's going to be I call that game the tempo setter for Tennessee. I've called it that all off season. You win that game, you're off and running. You lose that game, boy, you got to play catch up, in my opinion. That being Tennessee on the road at Oklahoma for a number of factors. Oklahoma's a good team. There's a lot of parallels there with Jackson Arnold, former 5-star quarterback, getting his first job as the starting quarterback, first year, consistently as the starting quarterback, and all that and more, of course. Josh Heupel was asked about his 2 new assistants, William Minge, linebackers coach, and Darrell Sims, running backs coach. A lot of talk about those guys replacing, of course, the guys who were there, and Brian John Marie and Jerry Mack, who were big parts of Josh Heupel's staff, did a really good job. How are they adapting to the Tennessee culture on the recruiting trail, in the position rooms, all that and more? This is what Josh Heupel had to say about his 2 new assistants, linebackers coach William Minge and running backs coach Darrell Sims.
2 guys that are elite teachers, that are relationship driven, their ability to gain trust from the players inside of their position rooms as quickly as they did, parlayed itself into both of those position groups having great springs. And they've had great summers too, but just the on-field experiences, our linebackers, I thought, played with great eyes, lineman assignment, their communication, their ability to destruct blocks. They were playing their best football as a group that they had since we've been there. And Coach Sims has done an unbelievable job with the running back. It's a young group outside of Dylan Sampson that have really grown in their understanding and their football IQ. Really excited to see him continue to develop that group here as we get into training camp.
Yeah, I think the big thing for both of those guys are relationships. Getting in there, creating relationships, being able to come across as not an equal, because you're not an equal, but being able to understand these guys. And I think Darrell Sims, I know firsthand. I spent some time around him at Carson Newman. That's him, and I think he's going to be a superstar in this industry. I really do. And William Minge, who's got some more years on him, but Just came in, has bonded really, really well with Keenan Pili, nicknaming him the Uncle Grandpa of the room, and it's a silly name, but I guess it's kind of funny. But just an example of which, right? And really hitting it all with Jeremiah Thielander. I think he's got more pieces to work with right now. The room needs to be better than what it was last year, and that injury to Keenan Pili and really to Aaron Beasley, who wasn't playing at 100% all year long. They got to get better, but I do think he's got more pieces to work with an Aaron Carter, with Keenan Pili, with Jeremiah Thielander, Caleb Perry, Edwin Spillman, Jalen Smith, Jordan Burns coming in, then that of Jarrell Sims, who doesn't have Cam Selden full go right now. Getting Peyton Lewis back, who missed spring, true freshman though. Brand new starter in Dylan Sampson. Have Deshaun Bishop there. A little bit more of a work in progress, but I thought those are some good answers there. We'll hear more from Josh Heupel, and I'll respond to his responses, I guess, react to his responses. Some good stuff that he had to say about NIL, the secondary, and how a winning baseball program and basketball program helps him as a football coach here at Tennessee. That's coming up next. We continue on here with the Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. I love sports. I love sports so much I never want them to stop. But the playoffs are winding down. We get fewer and fewer games right now outside of Major League Baseball. Sports, they're just not sporting the way that I want them to. But over at FanDuel Sportsbook, they'll let the sports keep going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And for this summer only, FanDuel is hooking up all customers, not just new customers, not just existing customers, all customers, okay? You have an account over at FanDuel Sportsbook, you qualify for this. All customers with a boost or a bonus daily, every single day. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long over at FanDuel Sportsbook. So all you need to do, download the FanDuel Sportsbook today, head on over to FanDuel.com, start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel is where you make every moment more, and you can truly do that this summer with a boost or a bonus daily. All customers over at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back into here to your Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. Big thank you for joining us here today and making us a part of your morning routine. I will encourage you to make Locked On SEC your second listen, your second watch here with SEC Media Days going on. Here on a Wednesday. They started on Monday. Of course, Tennessee's day was on Tuesday, along with Georgia, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Today kicks off, and there'll be 4 new teams. There'll be 4 teams tomorrow, and so a lot going on. So make Chris Gordy your second listen, your second watch here when you're done with Locked On Vols. Okay, so Josh Heupel again from the main podium. He was asked about a number of different topics. We've already heard a little bit about Nico, his quarterback, going back to Oklahoma, his 2 new assistants. Of course, because we're in this era of college football, we have to be asked about, expansion or NIL or something like that. So Josh Heupel was asked about name, image, and likeness, and I really, really liked what he had to say in his response to name, image, and likeness. A little bit of a lengthy clip here, so bear with me, but listen to Josh Heupel, some good stuff here on how he views name, image, and likeness in the college game today.
Yeah, I wish I had it when I was back in Oklahoma playing, you know what I mean? I think... for our players in their lives, with their family, it's afforded them opportunities, and I think that's important. I do truly go back to my playing days and feel like, you wanted to be a part of it and have an opportunity to use the game in a positive way for your family as well. And so for our guys, being able to increase their brand, their notoriety, and also take care of their families is a real positive.
Okay, we'll take one final question over to our right, about 3.
All right, so some good stuff there from Josh Heupel on how he would answer name, image, and likeness, that question, saying, hey, man, I wish I had that to play around with when I was at Oklahoma, but how it can impact families, how it can make a difference in, so many, players who, come to college and you don't have time. I mean, football is a full-time job. You don't have time to work, to gain additional income, to go out and do things that you want to do, or, sometimes pay the rent, or, sometimes help your family back home. So this is the good part of name, image, and likeness. And I know that everybody kind of, makes it out to be a negative, a huge negative. And there are some situations where it can be a negative. I mean, look at some, for instance, look at a couple of players that have left Tennessee via the transfer portal just this past offseason who were on program number 3 of the offseason. I mean, obviously there's something wrong there, right? And that's when you kind of abuse what name, image, and likeness can be right now. But for the majority of the case, I feel like it's a blessing and it's a good thing. And Josh Heupel saying he's excited about where college football is right now. One thing's for certain, you adapt or die. So you better adapt with it. You better have a plan with it, or you're not going to be winning football games. And Josh Heupel certainly has a plan there. Completely new secondary group, completely new defensive back room compared to the starters from last year. What does Josh Heupel think about this group and the potential of the secondary for Tennessee in 2024?
Yeah, expecting those guys to play at a championship level. I love the group as far as their length, athleticism, playmaking ability, their willingness to be physical, take on, disrupt blocks, tackle in open space, their care factor, their knowledge and understanding of what we're doing, how they approach, their practice every single day. I'm really excited about it. I mentioned a little bit earlier, but this is the deepest that we've been within our roster, and that affords you to have the opportunity to have great competition every single day. That's on the practice field, that's in the meeting room, but that depth becomes important as you go throughout the course of the season as well, and I'm looking forward to that group taking a real step here this fall for us.
Yeah, saying all the right things right there. That's what Josh Heupel's doing. I like the way they attack each day, willingness to, physicality, all that type of stuff. And then he kind of goes on and says, we've never had more depth across the board than we do right now. And that is true. And the defense has taken a step each and every single year. The haters out there, I mean, is it perfect? Absolutely not. Red zone defense improved. Third down defense, pass defense, all those things still need to be improved. So I'm not trying to say it's perfect, but the haters out there, literally, that just don't like Tim Banks because you just don't like Tim Banks, this defense has gotten so much better every single year. It was a top 30 defense last year, 21st in efficiency, defensive efficiency. Best against the run, or second best against the run in the SEC. Defense has gotten much better every single year. However, you are starting completely over in the secondary. No more Trey Flowers, he's been gone a couple of years. Wesley Walker, Jalen McCullough. No more Tamari McDonald. No more, Danico Slaughter, or Kamal Haddon, or whoever out there, with the Warren Burrell at cornerback. Ricky Gibson is stepping up at cornerback. Of course, you got Andre Turrenton at safety, Kobe Thomas coming in at safety, Jordan Thomas at star, got Jamal McCoy coming in at cornerback, and there's a lot of excitement about that group, but it is brand new, and we're going to have to see exactly how those guys stack up play after play, game after game, much like Nico at the quarterback position. So I do think you've gotten a little bit more athletic back there, but we'll have to see exactly how good it can be. But one thing that group has working for it, as we've talked about, the front seven, specifically the front four and the rotation of the front four, where Rodney Gardner is going to play 13 guys, is going to help you. And James Pierce up there, the nation's best pass rusher, it's only going to help you. It's going to help you in a big way. Finally, the last thing I wanted to play here from Josh Heupel, he was asked by Trey Wallace of Outkick, Trey Wallace, friend of the show, how does a national championship winning program in baseball help you recruit to football? And Josh Heupel kind of takes that and expands on it to men's basketball and athletic department across the board. Really good answer here when talking about just the winning culture, how it affects him as a football coach at the University of Tennessee.
At times there's baseball, football guys that you're recruiting, so having a clear dialogue with him, I think is really important, him and his staff. But I think one of the great things, when it's going good all year long as far as your logo being in front of recruits. And so what Coach Vitale has done on the baseball side of it, or Coach Barnes has done on the basketball side of it, those are great experiences for recruits when they come to campus. They get a small taste of what Vol Nation is like and what game days are going to be like in front of 102,000 inside of Neyland Stadium.
So every program on Tennessee's campus uses football Saturdays to recruit. Basketball, basketball program brings in recruits, takes them to a football game. Softball program brings in players to recruit, takes them to a football game. Lady Vols do the same thing. I mean, baseball, everybody uses football Saturdays to recruit in the fall and giving them sideline passes and all that type of stuff, give them somewhere to go sit in the game. Josh Heupel, plenty of times throughout the month of April, throughout the month of May, when he's got big-time players coming in on unofficial visits or sometimes official visits early on in the cycle, he will take them over to Lindsey Nelson Stadium and just take in the environment, the atmosphere, plus a winning program. And anytime, and like he said in that statement, you have the Power T up there and a national brand, national significance, playing for national championships, it helps everybody. So, yeah, I mean, people have asked me, like, back whenever, we were fresh off a national championship, that being Tennessee, how will this affect football? Can this help affect football recruiting? No. I mean, the average 4-star, 5-star prospect's not going to pick Tennessee football because Tennessee baseball just won a national championship. But when they're here on campus and they go to a game at Thompson Bowling Arena, Food City Center, they go to a game at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, boy, that helps, because this atmosphere, because this fan base is awesome. And the chants and seeing the Rock and all that, I mean, truly, that was a really good answer, because he's exactly right. It's athletic department wide, how it really just helps everybody when you have somebody winning at the caliber that Tony Vitello's baseball team has been winning, and of course, a national championship. SEC Media Days rolling on. Some of the highlights we've been playing and discussing here from Josh Heupel, the main podium. All in all, kind of a ho-hum day for Tennessee, and that's okay. That's what Josh Heupel wanted it to be. No big major headlines out there that, at least to my knowledge. Cooper Mays, Keenan, Pili, Omari Thomas, they all made the rounds. Josh Heupel made the rounds, and now they're back here in Knoxville. So about as business as usual that you'd want for Tennessee coming out. No bulletin board material and stuff like that. Of course, we'll continue to react from Tennessee's Day of the SEC Media Days. That's coming up next with Josh Ward in segment number 3. Of course, we'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow as well. And no better time to check out Locked On SEC when you're done with this show, making that your second listen, because a football season is a-coming. And the unofficial start to the college football season is right now in Dallas, Texas with SEC Media Days. Josh Ward, co-host of Josh and Swain of 99.1 The Sports Animal, he is coming up next as we continue on with a Locked On Vols Wednesday edition with a little segment we like to call Ward Wednesday. Josh, first and foremost, the first time the SEC Media Days have been in Dallas, of course, welcoming in the Longhorns and the Sooners to the now 16-team Southeastern Conference. What's the vibe like down there? I mean, it's been in Hoover for years. It was in Nashville last year, been in Atlanta before. What's the vibe at this year's SEC Media Days in Dallas?
It feels like a big event. It feels like a big deal that Texas and Oklahoma are in the SEC, and they put together a really nice event to make it happen. Food's been good. Love that down here in Dallas. It's hot like it is in the SEC. Wi-Fi struggles at times like it does at the other facilities for SEC Media Days because you have everybody trying to use it. So the typical things we complain about, that's in place in Dallas, just like Atlanta, Nashville, and Hoover. So love that. But there's also so much football talk about winning because Oklahoma and Texas are coming into the league to win. They want to make a ton of money. They want to continue to grow and build, but they want to win. And we talk about Tennessee every day. Tennessee wants to win. And Alabama, Georgia, LSU will have the same expectations with 2 more quality programs in the league. So the increased level of competition has been fun to talk about.
So with Tennessee's Day being on Tuesday, and of course they've shared it with Georgia and Oklahoma, and some other teams. What was your overall thoughts on the way Tennessee presented itself, and of course, Cooper Mays, Keenan, Pili, Amari Thomas, Josh Heupel. Overall thoughts on Tennessee's Day now that it's over with down there in Dallas?
Tennessee did great. Tennessee brought 3 older guys that have played a lot of football and know what Tennessee wants to accomplish this season. They're very good at delivering the message. I had a chance to talk to all of them and had good conversations about what playing at Tennessee has meant to them, why they believe they can succeed, the talent that they have. Josh Heupel did not shy away from talking about that. The amount of talent, this roster being in the best shape that it's been in. And Josh Heupel is a guy that has big expectations. We talk about that from time to time, the external expectations, what people like you and I say, what fans say. And it can easily be forgotten that, well, there are internal expectations too. And Josh Heupel expects to go compete for an SEC title and to make the college football playoff. Now, the outside reaction might end up being different sometimes when you fall short of those expectations than internal. But Josh Heupel believes that they're going to go win. And confidence is not a real issue for him, I don't think, ever. Making sure his players believe in what they're doing is another kind of challenge. Having older guys come back, I think, helps with that. So the players that were here in Dallas were happy to talk about what they plan to do, and that's to go compete in every single game and win every single game. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah, one of my favorite exchanges with Heupel and a reporter there at the main stage on Tuesdays. Somebody was saying, "Well, why isn't Nico here?" And he said, "Well, it's not really why is Nico not here. It's why are these guys here?" And it's kind of that narrative there. But a lot of the conversation was on Nico, and Josh Heupel had a whole lot of good things to say. Who all is talking about Nico outside of the players here and the coaches here? I would assume that there's a ton of Nico talk on a Tuesday with Tennessee being present, because he is the biggest storyline of this team, regardless of what the national media want to make it. Josh Heupel, Oklahoma, Tennessee.
Yeah, the players themselves were asked about the video game. They were asked about Oklahoma and Texas coming in, thoughts there. And they were asked a lot about Nico and James Pierce Jr., Tennessee's star defender who was not here. And with Nico, it's the intrigue of his talent, how he will affect the offense, because I think everybody here in Dallas knows at this point that when Tennessee's offense is really going, it's going as well as any in the country. So Nico is going to be responsible for whether Tennessee's able to get there. Not just Nico, the offensive line, the receivers, what Dylan Sampson's able to do, that all factors in. But it starts with the quarterback, and everybody knows that too, his teammates included, Josh Heupel included. So everybody's intrigued. When I talk to others about what's going on with Tennessee, Nico comes up in the conversation very quickly. When I talk to Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl, Nico's not even eligible yet. He has another year until he's eligible. They take juniors now. But Jim brought up Nico pretty quickly in the conversation, and just his talent and the intrigue around him. So when Tennessee comes up, Nico comes up very quickly right behind the name Tennessee.
Josh Heupel said that they refer to Omari Thomas as the mayor in the defensive line room. And remember, a former Tennessee defensive lineman was the mayor of Saxonville, as he coined it, there in the NFL for a couple of years. It feels like Omari Thomas, not the flashiest guys, but he's just the prototypical guy that Tennessee's kind of building their team around, for at least this team. Really good at the line of scrimmage. You look at the offensive line, sure, you're looking for a left guard, and you have some depth questions in some areas, but a veteran offensive line. And then this defensive line for Tennessee, probably the deepest it's ever been, in the last decade plus here at Tennessee. Maybe not the most talented, but certainly there's talent there. Feels like with Cooper Mays and Omari Thomas, they kind of embody, what this Tennessee team is going to be all about, and it should be a pretty good team in the line of scrimmage. And you obviously got to have a line of scrimmage play to win in this league.
A lot of times this time of year, we can talk about a position group. So let's use the defensive line as an example. We'll talk about a bunch of players, and it's easy to start naming guys, and there's just this belief, well, okay, look how deep they are because we've named a bunch of players. But then you get to August and September and you realize, oh, well, they have all these players, but they don't really trust all these players. They're not going to have all those guys out there. Depth can mean players that you have, but I look at depth as players that you trust. And I think it's pretty clear Ronnie Gardner trusts a lot of guys to go out there and play. And Omari Thomas, he knows that they need a lot of guys to go out there. He wants to play. He wants to get breaks. He wants rest, because 4 quarters take a long time, and 12 games, and they want to play more than 12 games that matter, take a long time. So that's the difference here. Tennessee has a bunch of guys that we can name that fill out the depth chart that will play a role in how good Tennessee's defensive line is. That's the difference with where Tennessee is compared to 2 or 3 years ago, where those guys were going to have to play a lot of snaps, and it was a real question what they would do if they dealt with injury or how guys would be able to hold up. The offensive line, let's see how Lance Hurd plays. He has a ton of potential. Left guard is a question. There is talk of some guys coming along to provide depth if somebody goes down with injury. What happens if Cooper goes down? They don't really want to find out this season. But on the defensive line, there's no doubt that they have real talent and they have real depth. Omar Norman-Lott is a guy that's come up in conversation, again, to reference the Jim Nagy conversation. He's a player that's on their board, would have been a draftable guy a year ago, and he's back. And then on the offensive line, Cooper and Javonte Spraggins a year ago might have thought, I'll see where I am in the NFL next season. But they're back at Tennessee. Same with John Campbell Jr. Building the offensive line out, starting with those 3 guys, is really important.
On the set of SEC Nation this morning, or whatever show it was on the SEC Network, Nick Saban, of course, is an analyst there and doing a pretty decent job from everything that I hear whenever I'm watching. He said to Josh Heupel, I'm sure you're one of the few that it's kind of a humble brag, and I thought it was kind of funny. It's like, you're probably one of the few that are disappointed that I'm not coaching anymore because you hung 52 on us a couple years ago. What did you make of that exchange? And overall, How do you think Heupel has handled himself in this media setting today or yesterday, when we know that's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's a weakness for him, but it's just something that he just don't ever want to do and doesn't really have a care for it?
Yeah, that is an endorsement that Josh Heupel can use. I would make sure that David Sanders Jr. sees that quote. See, even Nick Saban's talking about how we put up 52 on him.
Yeah.
He recognizes what we were able to do. Saban's going to be a really good analyst, by the way, so just get ready for that. I think he's going to be terrific in the position. But I think Heupel he's brought credibility to Tennessee because other coaches and media covering the SEC recognize what he's capable of. Josh Heupel also knows he has to have the players. He didn't have the same confidence, to get back to that word, in last year's offense because they didn't have the same players as 2022. Josh Heupel brought up on our show when Brew McCoy went down, the wide receiver room was not where it needed to be. And some of the guys who come back from last year have a chance to be better this season. But bringing in Chris Brazzell and Mike Matthews, Staley, that should help build out the depth and the talent and the competition so that they have a better chance of making plays. And Brew coming back from injury really matters there. But Darnell Wright on the offensive line, that's why getting that group back in the position that they need to be, having Cooper Mays out there really matters. So you take the combination of the right personnel, which they had in 2022, and what Josh Heupel is able to do schematically on offense, and Tennessee will succeed. So these players that we're talking about, some of the newcomers and many of the guys coming back, let's see how they develop. Let's see what the new guys can do in making an impact. And all of that comes back to Nico, because if they're able to do what Tennessee's coaches believe, then Tennessee's offensively going to be one of the best in the country again this season.
Feels like it was a pretty ho-hum day, and that's not meant as a slight. I think if you're Josh Heupel, that's what you want. It was business as usual. Tennessee didn't have any bulletin board material. There wasn't any controversy things said. Just kind of came in, now you left, and I think it's just kind of business as usual for Tennessee. Would you agree? And then anything else from Tuesday's SEC Media Days, or the first 2 days of SEC Media Days that have stood out to you?
Yeah, I think they had fun. That Cooper and Omari loved rocking the cowboy hat, so everybody got their cowboy hat with their school's logo, and they love the Power T. So that, and Cooper having a little bit of fun with the Tennessee versus Texas, what's the real UT. So I think Tennessee just had a fun day. I think they brought three guys that are comfortable with the position they're in, where Tennessee is. They don't have to work hard to sell UT. It's not a message of, hey, we're going to do this, and then everybody says, yeah, right, we'll see. I think Tennessee's talking about what they believe they can do, and everybody's saying, okay, we'll see, because there's a chance. Like, some of the national media that's here this week has already gone on record predicting Tennessee will be one of the 12 playoff teams this year. There are believers in Tennessee that didn't exist 3 years ago, or probably even 2 years ago, because the 22 team did not have 10-2, 11-2 expectations. They went out and did that, and that caused people to say, okay, Josh Heupel in Tennessee football, it's different now. So now, with what the team did 2 years ago, this year's team has real believers, and in a few weeks, here in a couple of months, when they start playing NC State, Oklahoma, and then everybody else in the SEC, we'll find out if the talk here at SEC Media Days is real.
Awesome stuff, as always, from Josh Ward. A little segment we like to call Ward Wednesdays here on Locked On Vols. Every single Wednesday, you get to hear from Josh Ward, co-host of Josh and Swain, 99.1 The Sports Animal. Josh has got boots on the ground in Dallas, Texas, Radio Row for SEC Media Days. Follow his work on Twitter as well, Josh_Ward, and listen to him over on The Sports Animal. We will continue to break down Tennessee's day in the spotlight at the SEC Media Days from Dallas. Some of the big things that were said at the podium. We focused on Josh Heupel a little bit here today, but we'll break in to see what Cooper Mays and Keenan, Pili, and Omari Thomas had to say, if anything was noteworthy. And we'll continue to build for camp. That's starting on July 31st. And, of course, we know that the first game is August the 31st. So it is coming up in a hurry, guys. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch. Go ahead. Please subscribe to the show if you haven't. If you're listening right now on YouTube, please subscribe. Or watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening to us but not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Helps the show grow and get in front of more and more Tennessee fans. And this is going to be your number one stop during football season, no doubt about it. And, of course, the weeks leading up to Tennessee football. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen here today. We'll be back again here tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.